All right. Everybody's got their carrot cake. We are in the field, and we are so grateful to be sitting down with Friendly Fridge, Black Trans Travel Fund, Sara, Selma, Devin. Thank y'all, one, obviously for all the work that you do, but taking this extra time to dig deeper with us on 1 Million Experiments. It's great to see y'all.
Yeah, great to be here.
Great to be here.
You know, the last time we talked, the first question we asked y'all after how is the world treating you, how are you doing, was like, what was the hypothesis when you started your project, when you started your experiment? And so now, not that anything is like complete, like I know the work continues, but from the work that's happened over these last 2+ years, like, are there any new conclusions or things you feel like you've learned, takeaways that you didn't know the last time we talked?
So when we started, we put a refrigerator on the sidewalk, plugged it in, and put a bag of groceries in. That was it. And we asked people to show up in the best way that they could, which was awesome. People did show up. Over time, since almost 4 years now, we learned that A, the system is not broken. The system is working perfectly for certain people. B, we waste a shit ton of food. The whole charity model is built on buying food and giving it to people and telling people that that's what they're gonna get. And that, to me, that's how charity is just a crock of shit. So instead, over time, we figured out that we can rescue food. We can rescue beautiful food and share it with each other. And it doesn't cost as much, and we can do it with dignity, and everyone can do it. So we try to change the narrative from helping those people to, we are all going to eat this food because it's otherwise going to go into the landfill. And that's helped bring down a little bit of the stigma of who needs food. But the larger point is that we're doing this together as a community, and everyone can participate no matter who you are and where you come from. So I think the hypothesis has shifted over into how can we rescue more food and what effect that can have on so many different things.
I love that notion of rescue.
Yeah, 98% or 90% of our food is redirected.
Yeah.
How do we provide the infrastructure to get that to people? Like, where the problem is, or the multiple problems have like intersected beautifully.
I mean, we're not that brilliant that we came up with that. We just saw it happening. I wish we could pretend we did.
That you saw it.
We just saw it like 2020 was all about buying food and figuring out how to buy food and getting people to donate food. And then it just shifted. And when we saw the amount of food that goes to waste, it was incredible, you know. So like all that you saw today, a whole truck, all that would have been thrown out. Yeah, perfectly good food, but one tomato would have been bad in the whole pile. Ditch it. And people were so happy. It was great food.
And so, Dev, want to invite you into, the work of Black Trans Travel Fund has grown literally all over the planet. We talked about the initial hypothesis, but what are some of the conclusions that have come up from the work over the past few years?
We don't need support from the government in order to make these things happen. I think that there has been so many people who have been in support of this work, right, and trying to make suggestions, and even people that have offered certain support. And one thing that has gotten really clear to me over the years is like, not all money is good money. Not all support is worth accepting, because people put so many stipulations and people have expectations, like someone always want their name on something. And I just got really frustrated, There was an organization, as an example, I won't name the name, but they offered us $10,000, right? And I turned it down because they were saying like, oh, you can only spend this money on women in New York, and you can only like provide up to $50 per person. And I'm like, I can't get a woman from the Bronx to Brooklyn for $50 in an Uber anymore. So like, it's okay, you can keep your money, because like it becomes counterproductive to the work that we're trying to do. This is actually making it harder for me to like make the money that I can actually move. Like, you're taking my time away.
As we sit here in these two distinct mutual aid projects, it just, reifies the idea that the world we've built requires this mutual aid ethic. And one of the things we talked about yesterday, and that people are always asking about when they're trying to do, community-facing work, is this notion of size, of scale, and, what 1 Million Experiments offers, what we talked about yesterday, was the value of starting small. And so, y'all have y'all's corner. You have your folks, you have your community that you're very intentional about, and There's no intention of expanding beyond that community. And so can y'all speak a little bit more of the lessons of starting small and the importance of moving slow and small to keep the work healthy?
Only recently we decided that we really need a storefront. Like, it's going to be much better, and we're going to be able to process food and repack food. And we were getting really excited about that idea. And Jeannie asked me again, she said, is it just for optics, Mom? Do you all really need a storefront? And we've been debating about this, and I was the one who thought we needed it, but nobody else. You didn't. We've really realized we don't need a storefront. We're moving 20,000 pounds. We are redistributing food every month without a storefront. Yes, on a rainy day, we have to get a little umbrella, get a little shade, but it's still, the work is going on, so we don't really need to expand. But I have to say, there are groups, they don't see us as credible because it's the optics. It's like, do you have a place? Where is your location? And right now we're applying for grants for the first time, and we had one person say, we're gonna come on and visit you. And I'm like, yeah, we're on the sidewalk, you know, so the idea of starting small, I think, has been really good and even growing slower.
But that is true that, like, with that quote credibility or accreditation comes additional hurdles and headaches. Like, and sometimes and legitimately, like, just dollars. Like, sometimes that trade-off can be worth it, and sometimes that trade-off, like to your point, like, just isn't worth the trouble that it creates, you know?
You brought up a good point. When you get money, or someone offers you money, but there's contingencies attached to it. If we rented a place, we would be saddled with responsibility from everyone. From any imaginable thing that could go wrong, we would have to worry about that instead of the food. And I'm not saying I don't mind responsibility at all. That's not what I'm saying. It's just more like we would not be flexible. We would have to answer more questions. We would not be able to do the things that we've learned in that moment quickly to experiment.
Yeah, I mean, it's like focused around autonomy, right? It starts to strip you of like the ability of getting done what you want to do when you want to do it. You start putting more constraints on yourselves. It does definitely complicate things.
We're big fans of contradiction.
Oh yeah.
And so at the same time of staying small, both of your operations have grown. Though, right? So just from a fridge and one bag of groceries to just the tri-state area to the continent and around the planet.
The tri-continent area.
And so how do y'all move through that contradiction of, we don't want to be saddled with responsibility that takes us away from the work. We don't want contingencies that shift our mission or our focus, but we are also growing our capacity and growing our impact. How does that, like, both of those realities existing at the same time sit for y'all?
It was so important to stay focused on a particular goal. Like, I think a lot of people ask questions about wanting to start different initiatives, right? And what will make them successful. And I think having a very specific thing that you do is really helpful, because there's so many things that, so many needs that we're trying to fill. And, a lot of us want to put our hands in so many different things. It can be very overwhelming. And I think, like, for the travel fund, the fact that it was focused specifically on travel, like, it made it easy for people to want to support it, right? Because they knew exactly where their money's going. There's a lot of organizations that do a lot of different things, right? And so if you give them $1, you don't necessarily know what that money is being used for real, what particular program. But this is like, you send money to Black Trans Travel Fund, you know that you're paying for a Black trans person to get some support. Same thing with your food redistribution. It's like, you know that you're paying to feed people, and like, it's very specific. And so I think that specificity is really helpful for garnering support, because it like leads to trust, right? It's like people trust that this is going where I think it's gonna go. Which is small is helpful for that. And even with the expansion, like, we have expanded so much, right? We started out with just cars, and now we're doing flights and passports and TSA pre-check, and actually buying vehicles for people. We've bought cars, we've bought motorbikes for different Black trans organizations. But throughout all of that expansion, the focus has still been specific travel specific, and so still being aligned with like what we originally came to do. So I think that it just staying focused.
So what I'm hearing is when you start small, what that enables is even as you grow, you can stay specific. Like you don't have to stay small. You can scale in different ways, you can reach out in different ways, but by having your scope like defined from jump, then you can keep that focus even as things grow.
Right. Because then it's like we're tapping into all these different experiments that are happening, right? Like we got all these different needs that are being met, right? People focusing on their one thing. You can always tap in and support the work of like this other person that is doing this other thing. There's lots of ways in which you can collaborate. We collaborate with a lot of different orgs that don't have nothing to do with travel, you know, beauty and wellness, open mics, whatever the case may be. And so there are ways that we can tap into each other, but like being like clear on what is my focus, you know, is so important, because I think it just strengthens everyone.
You know, I think something that comes up in all of our work, we're talking about hunger. I want to unpack the idea of need and needs. I want to build off a interaction I observed you have, Selma, with a gentleman who came by the fridge today. And to kind of just, you know, summarize the interaction, he was trying to figure out what y'all were doing and what's happening there. And as you offered him food, he was like, oh, this is good, but I don't need it. And, you know, I hear y'all talk all the time about a mutual aid ethic that is working to, you know, subvert notions of charity. And there are these hierarchies around need that come up, but at the same time, there are very real unmet needs that need to be addressed and that are critical.
And disparities in need.
Yeah, and so, you know, I would love for y'all to talk about how within your work, how does that line around need blur? The difference between someone on the team and someone who's receiving food or someone receiving rides. How do y'all understand how need shows up? And is there something else we're saying when we say, I don't need that? Is there something else that we've internalized?
I think we are constantly, even now, even this morning, we'll talk about an incident that happened at the fridge, and we try to not analyze it, but figure, did I do the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? You know, like when we question something. So we see need in various ways. And I think one of the things I've learned is that I don't know anything. I really don't know until you tell me. I make these assumptions sometimes, I think we all do. But these 4 years have taught me to just go slow and be open to just asking the question, or just being there to figure out what it could be and not just assume something. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, that man would have pissed me off a few months ago. If I would have been mad, because we get that a lot of the time. Somebody will walk down and say, what is it you guys are doing here? We don't need you. We don't need this. We get that a lot. And I would just jump off my handle and say, how do you know? Would all these people stand online?
That doesn't sound like her at all. That's so surprising
Also,
to
the
hear.
fact that you were like, I thought you were going to be like, I would have been so mad a couple years ago. You're like, no, like in January.
But I came back from Costa Rica yesterday. I was in Costa Rica.
You're a new person.
No, we've learned over the time, like even before, it seems crazy, but even before we have a bigger distribution, I want to center myself and say, and just remind myself, I'm not super religious, but I want to just center myself and say, every day is a new day, everything is a welcome guest. He was a welcome guest. And what am I going to learn from this? And he came back. And that's what I've learned. That.
What do you mean by he came back?
You know what he first said? He told me what I don't know, I don't remember what exactly he said, but he's like, I don't really need this, I'm okay. What are you doing? But he seemed really curious. And when he came back, he took a loaf of rye bread and he took a meal. And I said, do you want one for tomorrow? Because we're just gonna have soup or something tomorrow. And he was like, oh, no, that's good, thank you. And it was very pleasant. And so much of the time, there are different groups of people who come to the fridge. And sometimes it's shame. You want the food and you feel a sense of shame. And we're trying to minimize that. When we stand there eating at the fridge and we're hanging out and chatting and people will ask us, is this from the fridge? And I'm like, yeah, this is great food, try it. But I think, we are still learning about that, and we don't know what people need. Like, people will come to us and tell us, like we've heard different things. I need you to help me find a rent stabilized apartment, or I'm in a shelter, but I need you to help me find something else. I need a room. I have a voucher. Can you help us? And the food brings us all together.
I mean, and the food thing is such a central part of it. I mean, like physiologically, the decisions people make, their ability to handle conflict, like so much of what exacerbates conflict, crisis, harm has to do with like not having literally like nutrients to run on, you know. I'm curious for you, Devin, how that same question comes up of like need, whether that's in relation to different people in your community or even like within the team itself, of like how comfortable are people receiving the help that they're offering to other people. Because we see that with organizers all the time. They're like, we're doing this distribution, and then they don't take the thing that they actually need to, because it feels like, oh, that's for y'all.
Yeah, no, I think that this is something that our organization has dealt with a lot. Like we sponsor community events every month, right? And so like I go there trying to redistribute funds to all of the Black trans women in the space to make sure they get home. And I can't tell you how many like women are like, no, I'm okay, like save it for somebody else, like I don't need it. And I'm just like, no, like this money is for you, like this is for you, like you need it. And there's like this, like you said, these feelings of shame or these feelings of like insecurity, guilt, like someone else needs it more than me. And it's like, no, we are the community that we're serving, and like this is for you, and there should be no shame or guilt or obligation. It's like also like you don't have to be living on the street, like you don't have to have like no food in your fridge at all in order to like accept this thing. It's like this feel like you are worthy, like every single one of us in our community is worthy of having this, like we all deserve it. We have so few stipulations on how you can receive support. I think people are surprised by like how little it is, the eligibility. It's like, if you're a Black trans woman, you can receive this. Like you don't need to be anything else. You don't need to be homeless. You don't need to be a sex worker. Like obviously these are people that we prioritize. There's like a priority in which like we distribute our funding because it's only so much, but like it's open.
Yeah, people will come to us and say, what do you need? You need my social security? Do you need my phone? Do you need my zip code? Can I take these? And I'm like, no, it's a community fridge. Help yourself. You know, yes, when we have limited, we'll say it's like 4 melons or 2 melons or 3 plantains. But in general, they're like, what do you need? And I'm like, we don't need anything. And that's one of the pieces, and I don't know if that affects your funding, because we don't receive any funds because we refuse to take metrics. And sometimes I battle with that. Like the City Harvest Food Bank will not give us anything because they want to they want us to take information. And so we've battled with that question. But I like that you have very little criteria and people can receive.
And the trade-off is what you said, and it's actually something that I heard you say at the fridge in response to the guy. If he was like, you know, who are they? Who are the people for this? And you said, we are them.
Yeah.
They are us.
We're you.
Like it's that simple.
As we start to wind down, I want folks to be able to enjoy their cake, but it's really been a gift to one, just see y'all in space together and to learn from y'all in tandem. And so I'm curious, as y'all are experiments that are getting to, you know about each other, are there any other experiments, whether folks you collaborate with, folks you've observed from close or afar, that feel aligned, that feel like a part of this larger project, or that you just want to shout out?
I will say this, meeting Devin and meeting other people who are mentally in the same space in terms of mutual aid, it's no longer a new thing. It's something that I seek out because it's my family.
Yeah.
I understand it now. It's like once you see it, you can't unsee it. You're like, okay, I understand where you're coming from, and that's a gift.
Yeah.
That's a gift. Just to be here and be a part of this new thing, but it's not new, it's old.
Well, thank y'all so much for spending some time with us. Thank you for joining us quite literally in the field. We are in a field. And just so proud of seeing y'all's work continue and seeing your thoughts grow, and thank you for trusting us with.
Well, we really gotta say we're proud of you guys for doing that. No.
Yeah.
Like forging these connections, it's really, really beautiful.
Yeah, now y'all gotta hang out.
Yeah, no. Oh, y'all are gonna see me again. I'm telling you.
Yeah, Brock's Wednesday. So yeah, thank you for experimenting with us. It's such an honor and a gift.